Hello, welcome to Just Chopsing Podcast. And today we have two special guests, actually. First one is my fucking cousin David, because he's been missing in action for 10 days.
Yeah.
And the next one is Jack J Hutchinson. I nearly said Johnson again then. So how are you both?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Recovered.
Or recovering still.
Recovering, yeah. I'm still not 100%, but getting there.
And how are you, Jack?
I'm all right, yeah. I'm not too bad. It seems like everybody's getting ill at the minute, not necessarily with the Rona, but there's like a bug going around, isn't there? And everyone seems to be getting I seem to have dodged that so far.
It's weddings, it is. It was my daughter's wedding, and half the wedding party caught it. Everybody was going down, and I knew it was. So it was my son was on one side of the room, my nephew was on the other side of the room, and basically they were all infected. And because I work from home and my antibodies are crap, and I haven't been outside and mingled with people for so long, I caught it as well. So I was the only one on the head table because it was my daughter's wedding. But we were all dropping like flies with it last week. So don't do weddings, whatever you do.
Just grow a massive beard, mate. I think that's what catches it all. You know, by the end of my tours, I come back with a green beard because it's just captured all the bugs. You know.
Oh, I don't know. I caught corona through mine, so that's no good. I don't. Maybe it's because I trimmed my moustache a bit too short, but there you go. So what's happening, Jack?
What's happening? Well, I'm currently on tour, which has been really good, actually. Obviously, after 18 months of not being able to tour properly. We've done 4 shows so far. I'm back home for a couple of days, and then we're heading back out tomorrow. We've got Norwich tomorrow night, and then we've got, we're going all over the place. Edinburgh, Newcastle, Bradford, Birmingham, great.
South Wales.
Crumlin.
Yeah, Crumlin. That'll be a good one.
Yeah.
I love the Patriot in Crumlin. It's one of my favourite gigs that we've done previously. And Angela, who runs that venue, is great. She just really looks after you and makes you feel at home when you're there. So we're really looking forward to that show.
Okay, yeah, they've just rebuilt it, haven't they?
Yeah, I know. I put a post up on Facebook of me holding my my Viking V guitar like this, and I was like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to like shove it through the ceiling after the fantastic refurbishments." And I go in and do one gig and bring the ceiling down, you know. But yeah,
it's not that low, is it?
I don't know. My guitar's quite big, so it probably would. I've done it previously where I've lifted it up and then hit the ceiling with it. But,
how tall are you then?
I'm about 4'2". No.
The guitar's 10'8". 300 frets.
Standing on the bass drum.
Well, we expanded the budget on the current tour. We got a mini trampoline at the front of the stage, so I just run it and then jump. Yeah.
All right, very good. So, heavy blues rock, would you say?
Yeah, I guess so. My new album, which we're playing a lot of new songs on this tour from, is a lot heavier and a lot more rock based than perhaps what I'm previously been known for.
Okay.
And I kind of emerged really into the blues scene a few years back, which was kind of weird because I did play blues, but I for 10 years of my life I was in quite heavy rock bands. I was in a band that used to do Pantera covers, and like the contrast between that and when I became known for being an acoustic blues act, that was like a period of about 2 or 3 years that, I still do that stuff, but this album's kind of gone back to what I was doing previously. So hopefully people dig it. I mean, there's still blues on there. I think that's always going to be at the root of what I do.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully I'm not going to get messages from blues fans going, "What the hell have you done?" Expecting some Elmore James, and it sounds like Pantera. But because all blues fans have that accent, don't they? I just think it's a good collection of songs, and that's the main thing for me. And people seem to be digging it on the tour.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Well, your new album is The Hammer Falls, is that right?
It is, yeah.
When's that coming out?
It's coming out on the 4th of February. I went through a whole kind of Viking phase in lockdown last year when I was watching Vikings on, what was
Netflix.
I think is it on Netflix now?
Yeah.
But I started watching it just before lockdown and then basically binged it. And so wrote most of my album whilst watching that series. So there's a few Viking references across the lyrics and things. But yeah, I'm really pleased that we finished it. And I received the masters a couple of days ago, and it all sounds really cool. And I'm really excited about people hearing the finished record.
Yeah, cool, man. Because I mean, I've gone back through some of your stuff today because you brought a blues album out called Back to the Blues.
Yes, we did that. I think it was November last year, and we'd been in the studio in September and basically tracked most of my new album, and then we got offered like a one night streaming event at Ain't Nothing But Blues Bar in central London, and it was really good fun, that, because it was revisiting a lot of material that I'd not played for a little while. So we kind of reworked some of my songs and turned them into more sort of acoustic based stripped back versions, and then, you know, covered some Elmore James stuff, Magic Sam, BB King. And it's funny because all these songs that I used to jam on at blues bars, you know, when I used to run a blues jam at the same bar a few years back, I was having to relearn all this stuff. And I was really pleased with that record. And a guy came up to me in Liverpool when we played in Liverpool last week, and he said he bought a copy of it, and he said, "This is my favourite album that you've done." He said, "I've been listening to this non-stop over the last 12 months. And I was like, we recorded this album in like 2 hours. You know, we did it live, but, you know, a couple of tracks, we did maybe a retake if it didn't quite come off. But it was all done in 2 hours, no overdubs or anything. No fixing of anything, which, you know, you tend to do that in the studio now. You go back and tinker with it and make it sound quite polished. So what you hear is what we played." And he was like, "I love that. I love that it's stripped back." And
Yeah.
you know, people like that authenticity, I think.
Yeah. I put it on earlier. I was like, "Fucking hell, this is good. This is good." To be honest,
I liked it. It's good.
You weren't listening to me, were you? You were listening to Jack Johnson.
Yeah, probably.
It's like, yeah.
This is great. This.
I was waiting for the referee to start the fight, but you know. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it is a good album, to be honest. I mean, that blues stuff it's nice. It is pretty clean, to be honest. Since you only recorded it in 2 hours.
Yeah, man, and it was an opportunity to play some slide guitar, which I've not really done recently. I went through a phase when I was in my kind of early 20s when I became obsessed with like Government Mule and the Allman Brothers Band and all that kind of stuff, and trying to master slide guitar, which I think I failed miserably at doing that. But it's something that I'd like to explore more in the future, actually, and get back into playing slide. You know, there's artists that I've played with who, you know, like Troy Redfern when I was in RHR. Troy's a really great slide player. And, you know, seeing somebody who is a master of that art, it's quite inspiring. So, yeah, when we did the Back to the Blues stuff, yeah, it was like, oh, God, I've got to dig out the slide and try and get some of this right, because I'd not done it in a while. And when I play electric guitar and do the heavy rock shows, you play guitar differently, you sing differently, because you're playing a kind of a rock show and you're shredding more than you are playing this kind of more articulate, human sounding lead guitar.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe there'll be a Back to the Blues 2 at some point in the future. We talked about doing it as a tour at the end of next year, which would be like acoustic sort of shows, which I've not done that for a little while. And I tell you what, it's a darn sight easier doing the acoustic shows than taking out Marshall stacks and that kind of stuff. So we'll see. Yeah,
that's pretty interesting, actually. You know, there's not many artists out there that are going out and doing something a little bit different. You know, they're doing their usual stuff. Like you're on tour now and you're going to go out and do your usual stuff. But then to go away for a couple of months and come back and do something a little bit different, you know, you're appealing to a different audience as well, really.
Yeah, man. And I think I miss, to a certain degree, you know, like the rock show that we've got on, keep referring to it as a rock show, the show that we're putting on at the minute on the tour is a set number of songs that we've worked up, and we've put together a set list that presents the new album. It presents it as a piece of art. Whereas the way I used to do shows is I used to do a lot of, blues jams. If I wasn't on tour, I'd go into central London. Any night of the week, I'd go to a jam. And what I liked about that was I'd be on stage with people I'd never played with before, being put on the spot. And it tests you in a different way. That, I play with my band with Laz and Felipe, and we know the fucking songs. We go out more or less the same every night. But when you get up with people who, with a varying levels of ability, right? You get up with a drummer who can't keep time or whatever. You've got to try and pull that together, and I sort of missed that. Obviously, I haven't been able to do that because of lockdown. That's really been what I've been about for the last 18 months. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe try something like that in the future as well.
Yeah. Well, you seem to have been pretty, I can't say fucking active because nobody's been very active, but creative then, I should say, in the lockdown period. I mean, you've recorded a new album, you've recorded this blues album and stuff, so, you haven't been sitting on your thumbs.
Yeah, man. I think it was weird when we went into lockdown last year because it was on the back of me being on the road for about 12 months constantly. And I think part of the reason for that was I had a lot of issues in 2019, with my father, who was really ill over the course of that 12 months. So I actually think that I was a bit crap with that. I think I escaped it by going on tour and drank a lot and kind of ended up with a mess at the end of 2019. And what lockdown did, it was almost it forced me into like a detox period for a couple of months where I had to stop. I had no booze, so I didn't have access to booze. So I just was it stopped me drinking, which actually did me a world of good. And then I focused on songwriting.
Yeah.
And it actually helped me clear my head and set me up to then go in the studio last September and record what I think is probably my best album so far, just because I had more clarity.
Yeah.
And obviously it was awful what was happening. I'm not saying it was great, but it actually, from a personal perspective, probably was something that I needed.
Yeah,
we were just about to go, we were in the middle of a tour when lockdown happened, and then we were about to go to Spain straight after that, and then I think we were doing Switzerland, and then we were supposed to be going to Brazil and doing some more dates in Brazil. So we would have been on the road for another 5 months, and I'm not quite sure what state I'd have been in at the end of probably looking rather similar to how I look now, but it's kind of, I think it probably did me a bit of good to have a little bit of a break.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of artists seem to do that, don't they? I mean, I don't know how. Did your dad pass or?
No, he had. He got diagnosed with a mixture of Alzheimer's and vascular dementia.
Okay.
So the kind of change and the deterioration in him was really quite dramatic, and like 4 years ago, he was still coming to gigs with me, and he was like my kind of roadie for a long while.
Yeah.
And to see that all happen really in the space of about 18 months with him, kind of going from being a bit forgetful to being in a home. It was quite a shocking experience, really. And I think that's why he went into the home in February of 2019, and then I just headed on tour, and it was a way of kind of getting out and avoiding it, I think.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. He's still around. He seems happy enough where he is. I saw him last week, actually. It's funny because I took in, I played in some of the demos actually last year for my new album, and it was hilarious because my dad was like, he just said, "Turn it off." I was like, okay, there you go. Maybe I need to write some better songs then. So he's still got something there,
Yeah, you hear a lot of these stories from these artists, though, that they have some family problems and they seem to just head off on tour and trying to escape the mess and leave it behind them a little bit for a while,
Yeah, and being on tour is quite a lonely place at times. I look back to particularly there's a period when I was on tour in the Czech Republic, and just being in hotel rooms and kind of just kicking around all day, and you're alone with your thoughts a lot of the time. And it's not that great for you. I think musicians, I understand why a lot of musicians struggle with booze and drugs, because there's fuck all else to do actually when you're on tour sometimes. And the Czech Republic is quite a small country, so the distance of travel between shows was 2 hours a day. You get there at sort of 2 PM. What are you doing for 6 hours?
Yeah.
I think I just binge watched Game of Thrones. Actually, that's what I did on that tour. But it's kind of looking back. I think it probably was a tough time, but it set me up for where I am now. So you can only be positive about it, I guess.
Yeah. We can only be positive about anything, really, can't we?
Yeah.
So you got a new single coming out for Halloween?
Yes.
Straight to Hell?
Yeah, it's a kind of melancholic folk song. No, I'm only joking.
Yeah.
It's like a Sabbath meets, I don't know, there's the chorus is quite poppy actually, which is a bit weird. I wrote this monstrous riff with a really heavy verse, and then the chorus goes into like Beatles territory. But I think it's a good tune. It was one of the last songs that we wrote on the record, and every album I've put out, the last song that we've recorded has always ended up being like the first single or the first track on the album. So yeah, it's a good tune, and yeah, it's coming out 29th of October. And hopefully people dig it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Hope Wes can get out there to all the radio, and
yeah, man,
that'd be good.
It was one of them where we had a great engineer doing the album with us, who was sort of, he was on board as an engineer, but actually did a lot of production. And a chap called Josh, who worked with me on these songs, and one of the things that he really did with me was he pushed me in terms of guitar playing.
Okay.
I felt like the last record, Who Feeds the Wolf, was all about vocals and discovering my voice as a singer, whereas this one actually was about like what have you got as a guitar player. So the guitar solo on Straight to Hell, I was really pleased with that. And a lot of it was about trying to nail the guitar solos, like to actually fucking play the thing. So a lot of the time in the past, what I've done is I've sort of winged it in studio settings with guitar solos, and they've been an afterthought. Yeah. Whereas this album, I really did work on them and write what I thought were killer solos, and then made sure I went in the studio and could fucking play them when I was recording them. So what you hear with Straight to Hell is a take of me doing that, rather than piecing together stuff that, the producer is an afterthought. It's like, well, he did this kind of good, and then, it's meant to work as a composition. So yeah, it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, okay.
Play live though, because you got it back in the set, and this guitar solo is like, I do this thing in it that's called trilling, which you have to kind of basically in a split second hold your pick in a different way, and then run it up the fretboard. And it's like, when you're going ape shit in track 1 on your set, you're just like, am I hitting the notes right here? But who gives a shit as long as I look cool? I don't know.
Well, it's live anyway, so you're allowed to make mistakes,
Put loads of reverb on it.
Yeah, I mean, my guitar playing's not getting any fucking better, I'm afraid. I had have you heard of what's it called? Dagbad tuning? Dagbad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had to go with that today, but I tuned my guitar to Baghdad tuning, and it all came out sounding like Middle Eastern music, so it was a bit bad, really.
Well, I got a funny story about this. About the first night of the tour, we played Worthing, and I've got this guitar set up, and I'd been jamming along with some Zeppelin stuff, and this tuning was like the Kashmir tuning. I don't even know how this really happened, but I picked it up we were doing a cover of War Pigs by Sabbath, and you do the big, Felipe does the bum 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 da and immediately Laz, my bass player, looked at me and went, like, what the fuck? Something's wrong. And I was like, it just sounded like dog shit. And it's like one of the things that you're always told, I've been told for 20 years, whatever you do, don't stop a song. Like, you got to get through the fucking song. And I was like, we ain't getting through this song because it's the wrong fucking tuning. And so about 30 seconds in, I was like, I'm really sorry, we're going to have to stop this. And I picked up a different guitar and I was like, so I'm a complete cock. And we started the song in the wrong tuning. And Laz, who is he's professionally musically trained. Afterwards, he was just like, you plonker, you know. How can you not have the guitar in the right tuning? But it does make everything sound kind of like Friends by Led Zeppelin, that kind of vibe as well. Although I think that's in Open Sea, isn't it, that tune? But it's a really nice tuning where you can kind of whack loads of open strings, and then I do it a lot actually when I sit here watching the football and I play acoustic guitar whilst I'm just playing, you know, watching the footy or whatever, and I play with open strings because it's so kind of get lost in this kind of meditative way of playing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I need to do for my next album, do a load of open tuning stuff.
Yeah. I only came across it really because I've only been learning to play for the last couple of years, but I came across this guy on the internet called, what's it called, Mike Dawes, I think. Have you seen him?
No.
He's pretty amazing. He does all this like acoustic stuff on his acoustic guitar, like drums, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. And I thought, oh, that's fucking interesting. Maybe I'll be good at that, but I'm still shit at that as well. So
that's what I was going to say when you mentioned earlier on, Jack, and you said when you get up on stage and you have a jam, and sometimes you've got the drummer that can't keep in tune or in time and all that. Me and Terry would be a real challenge.
Sometimes, I mean, you listen to some stuff like Sabbath stuff. Like, there's a lot of the songs speed up and slow down, and that's part of the vibe of that production. But you know, I remember doing jams in, you know, particularly along like Denmark Street in London. I used to go down to the Alley Cat on Denmark Street on a Wednesday evening because we used to rehearse on the other side of the road. Not literally in the road, but there was this rehearsal studio on the opposite side of the road before I think it all got demolished. So we'd do a rehearsal and then at sort of 10 in the evening go over and do the blues jam. And everybody was just cooking because they'd been in there boozing for a few hours. And some of the drummers would get up and it'd be like, they'd start songs at like 107 BPM, and by the end you're at like 64. Everybody's like, everybody looks like Jim Morrison. It's just like, yeah.
Where you from then?
I'll just say another thing about that jam. Once I was playing there, and then some erotica came on, and a projection behind me as well. And I was just jamming away, and there's like Emmanuel came on, and I was like, "What else going on?"
You automatically switch the blues then. that jazz, bit of jazz coming in.
Since I gave up booze, that shit never happens anymore. I don't know. Sad days.
You wonder why everybody was looking at you.
Yeah, I thought, everyone's really fucking into this. Really great. Everyone's just like, this is fucking awesome. And I'm like, yeah, I know it is, mate, yeah.
So where are you from, mate?
Well, I was born in Leicester, but I didn't live in Leicester for very long. I moved to Burnley when I was 5 and lived in Burnley until I was 22. So, yeah, so I see myself as being from Burnley. And then I'm in London. I've been down in, you know. London.
You were headed for the bright lights.
Well, that's kind of why I moved there. I felt like, you know, like a lot of people feel about moving to London. I felt like I'd reached a certain sort of stage in terms of playing around where I lived, and then I was like, and it was funny because where I was playing these acoustic nights mainly in Burnley around that time, you feel like you've got a bit of a name, and you feel like, you know, everybody knows you, and you it's like Jack Big Bollocks walks in and everybody fucking knows you. So I moved to London thinking I was the dog's bollocks, and you know, nobody gave a shit when I moved to London. It was a big slap in the face, and it was quite good really, because I remember one of the first nights I ever went out in London, and I went to Ain't Nothing But Blues bar, and I got up and jammed, and it was funny because this guy came up to me after I'd played, and it's funny because I know the guy now, and he's really cool, but I don't know what this was like hard truths, and he just came up to me and he went, do you know what, mate? And I went, what? And he went, that was fucking shit. Like, what? And he went, yeah, that really wasn't very good. And so I was really annoyed and really upset by somebody saying that to me. But what it did do was it made me, after a couple of days, think about what I was doing and actually the level I was at, and it pushed me to get better. And the realization that some of this, the smaller kind of open mics I was doing back home, once you got to London, the level was a little bit higher at some of the jams I was going to. I remember like people coming down to the blues jams. You got people like members of Fleetwood Mac coming in, and obviously they're pretty high level in comparison to what I was at. So 2 or 3 years later, I felt like I'd sort of put that effort in, and through jamming with all these different people who I remember doing it, like getting up and jamming with Ian Siegel. That was quite an experience. And Ian Siegel was really, we had a few beers afterwards and mainly talked about football actually, but he was quite an inspiration at the time to see how he kind of captivated an audience.
Yeah.
That was something that I learned it wasn't just about being able to play the right notes and being technically perfect. It was about engaging people when you're on stage and having to learn to, because I never really want to be a front man, but I then developed a sort of persona on stage that, hopefully people still find interesting. I get told off by my band for telling too many shit jokes. You got to try and you can't just be fucking serious for 2 hours. You've got to kind of get people on your side, I think. And that's to those first early gigs in London where some guy came up to me and said, that was fucking shit, Yeah. It's because I was boring. It was just boring on stage with me trying to show off and pretend I'm Brian May,
Or Brian May not.
Brian May on a BB King tune, it's not very good, is it?
No.
A bit wrong.
So how when you got into playing guitar then?
How long have I been doing it?
Yeah, how old were you when you picked up a guitar?
I think I was probably about 11 or 12, but I absolutely hated it initially. And the reason was that I think this is probably still true today. I don't really like being told what to do. And so my dad telling me that every Monday evening I had to go for guitar lessons, it was just horrible. And the guy that was my teacher was more of a kind of classical guitar player. I just wasn't into it. I just wanted to be outside playing football. And this chap, David, that was his name, the tutor, he was a pretty cool guy, but he just wasn't presenting me with music that I liked.
Yeah.
And, I eventually pleaded with my dad to let me go to football practice, which was on a Monday evening, rather than going to the guitar lessons. And the final lesson, I remember my mum said to this guy, said, has Jack learnt enough in the last 2 years to just learn on his own? And he went, I'll be honest with you, he hasn't got the work ethic. I was like, you what? So when people say stuff like that to me, it's a bit like that guy in London, that kind of, there's no point crying about it. It then pushes you to prove them wrong. And one of my dad's mates, a guy called Andy Buck, he lent me, I think he was sort of trying to get me to continue with it. And he lent me the Led Zeppelin box set that came out in the early 90s, the one that had the cornfield on the front cover. And it was a 4-disc set. And Andy said, just give this a listen and see what you think. And I remember listening and hearing Heartbreaker and that riff. And I was straight away trying to learn that on guitar. And that was like the kind of, it was like a light bulb moment for me. And then I was obsessed with guitar. Fuck football. I'm on the guitar all the time. And Led Zeppelin were kind of the root of me discovering all these other forms of music, all these other bands. So it's a long time now. You'd think I'd be better considering I've been playing for so long, but I've got good selection of hats.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's like James though. I mean, we spoke to what's his second name, Dave?
James who?
James, the fucking Welsh guy, James.
Oh, Kennedy.
Yeah, James Kennedy, and he said he learned to play guitar when he was really young, and he said he's probably worse now than he was then.
Yeah, he said he was a lot better when he was back.
He said he was better when he was like around about 20, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm better now than I was when I was 20, but that's probably because I was you know, I was quite into the idea of being a rock star rather than actually doing the hard graft and writing some good tunes and getting a good band together. I like to just, I don't know, you just think differently, I think, when you're a bit younger.
Yeah.
I wanted to be Jimmy Page. I wanted to just be, you know, boozing. And I played some fucking great shows around the Northwest around then with my band. And those shows they're more like me remembering parties than anything else. Just playing kick-ass gigs. It was more like we played a gig and then we got hammered at a house party afterwards. Whereas now, you know, there's a different focus now. We still party a bit, but it's hopefully the gigs have improved. I think they have.
Yeah. I know that. I understand that feeling all too well. So, but what sort of things you listening to now, mate? Anything lighting your fire?
It's funny because I listen to a lot of stuff that you know, it's really stereotypical. I mean, a couple of days ago, I got the new Neil Young record, which is this new bootleg series that he's put out. My partner Liz, I was listening to it, and she's like, haven't you already got these songs? And I was like, I've got these songs on like 50 albums, but I just keep buying like anytime Neil Young puts something out, I will buy it. I was listening to the new Blackberry Smoke album actually the other day. I got it on vinyl months ago. Never really listened to it, so I've been giving that a spin. I think it's called You Here Georgia. So yeah, that kind of southern rock stuff I'm always spinning. And I've been listening to the new John Carpenter album. I listen to a lot of that stuff actually after gigs, because I kind of, after I've played a loud show, the last thing I want to do is listen to, I don't know, Sepultura or something like that.
Yeah.
I listen to movie soundtracks quite a lot. So yeah, I've been listening to that this week as well.
So you play a gig and then you get Rocky on the record player.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been listening to a lot of, you know, there's a few, because we've been announced as playing Winter's End as well.
That's cool, yeah.
So there's a few bands that are playing on that I've just been checking out, because it's, you know, that's something that I really enjoy doing, is listening to new bands as well as the old stuff. So
Yeah.
Wayward Sons, I really like their new stuff. I think that's really great. And killer artwork as well. I love bands that have got really good artwork.
They're all over my arm.
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, I hate it when bands have brilliant albums and they got dog shit album covers. It's like, you know, the guy that did my album cover, he does artwork for Blasco from Ozzy Osbourne's band, and that's how I sort of discovered him. And I was like, you know, I've spent 6 months writing and recording an album. You want an album cover that looks killer, you know?
Right.
So yeah. So Wayward Sons, I think, have got some great artwork.
Yeah.
David will tell you about that.
Yeah, well, some great bands. I was having a look at it earlier on. I've never done the Winter's End one before, so I'm going to try and get there this year.
Yeah, man.
Mason Hill, Dust Coda, Bill Campbell, is just obviously yourself. There's just so many bands on it. I said to Terry, it's like a Just Chopsing festival, really, because the people that we've either interviewed or going to be interviewing as well, which is pretty cool, or want to interview.
Yeah. I was on about you could tell him about the artwork, you knobhead, for Wayward Sons album.
No, I know that. I'd already told him about that. Because I got a tattoo sleeve.
Not on your fucking arm, on the record. Didn't Toby tell us about his what was it, fucking that cartoon guy he had doing the stuff for him?
Oh yeah.
That he met.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Jack's watched that episode. It's a pretty long one.
Yeah.
I'll have to. I haven't watched it, but I will watch it after this.
It's on for fucking 2 hours. Dave is the number one fan, isn't he?
But Dust Coda artwork was pretty cool as well on their new album.
Oh yeah, they got theirs done by a brewery guy, didn't they?
Yeah, their artwork was pretty cool.
They're good guys, the Dust Coda. I met John a couple of years back. There was like a new wave of classic rock Christmas party that they I think we went to see Alter Bridge at the O2, which was a weird gig. The sound was really bad, although I was really out of it. I was pretty drunk, and part of the reason for that was John from the Dust Coda. we'd never met each other before, and it was like I think Richard Brindley from New Wave of Classic Rock was like, "Hey, you guys should meet." And we were at the bar, and we just ended up like it was one of them where you're still in the bar, and it's like, "Oh, the gig started. We should actually go in and watch the gig now." Just a super cool guy, and he's got an amazing voice, really good band. Yeah, and another band that have got really identifiable artwork is that album cover. When they were plugging it through Earache earlier on this year, it was everywhere, and you instantly recognised it, and it looked like sort of I mean, it's like a sort of animated. It opens door. I think with artwork that opens your mind in a different way and creates a sense of imagery for the record.
Yeah,
that's quite important. You know, it's like when you see old kind of Western posters that sets the scene for that movie. That's what you need to do with your album cover. So yeah, the Dust Coder definitely did that.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Yeah, we had is his name Ian?
Yeah, the guitarist.
Yeah. Ian Mackey. Yeah, we had him on.
Yeah.
I'm really rubbish with names because I just call everybody mate. It makes my life a lot easier.
Calls them all Johnson.
Jack Johnson.
It's Jack J Johnson. I mean, we've started.
You can do a recall on all these CDs and get changed if you want to Johnson. I've ordered 1,000 CDs. Can you redo the front cover?
I mean, we've started a few episodes because I don't like to edit anything out, and we've actually started a few episodes, and I've gone to introduce everyone, and I've just sat there and gone totally blank because I can't remember the person's name.
No, you haven't.
I'm fucking terrible.
And the very first word is, "Oh fuck, I was thinking of such and such."
It's when you go, "Good evening, can you please welcome," and then you're like, Jack J.
No, I just say, "Oh fuck, I'm sorry, mate, I've forgotten your fucking name." Yeah, I'm terrible. Sometimes I'm really bad. To be
honest, mate, there's so many people wear hats rather similar to this one that, you know, it's quite easy to get us all mixed up.
Yeah, I mean, you could have been Moose, couldn't you?
He's better.
Sons of Liberty, yeah.
Yeah. Because wait, are you signed to Earache as well then?
No, I did a track with them, which was on that. I have to be careful. What was the title of it? New Wave of Rock and Roll, wasn't it? So there was the vinyl release, which the Dust Coder were part of. Scarlet Rebels, Los Campbell, Verity White. There's quite a few of us on that release, but I'm not on Earache. No.
Right, okay.
But great guys at Earache, and they were very supportive of that release, and it was good fun to be part of it.
Yeah. They seem to have signed a few bands in the last 18 months, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's on there altogether.
Like some of my favourite acts, I mean, the way that I became aware of Earache was through Rival Sons and Black Smoke. So that's how I kind of knew about that label. And then I sort of then realised that there's this long history of Earache, and they're a great team. And Dan Tobin, who worked on that release and used to work for Earache, is working on the release for my new album with Eyesore. So we're doing it through Eyesore. So yeah.
Right, okay. Eyesore, Earache. When's tonsillitis coming out?
Sounds like what I was suffering with last week, to be honest.
Go on, got anything, Dave?
Yeah, I was just going to say you got super busy this week because I know you were on those damn Crowcasts as well, wasn't you? How did that go? Was that good fun?
Yeah, it was good, man. I'm trying not to repeat the same jokes tonight because my press guy Wes will be like, "You just said the same stories." Yeah, it was good to be. It's not really interviewed, is it? It's just you chatting. And
yeah.
Like what we're doing, it's quite relaxed, and you can sort of open up a bit more about certain topics, which is quite cool. Yeah. And swear a little as well, rather than like live radio where you get fined if you swear, which is really difficult for me.
Yeah, for us too. Well, for me anyway.
Terry really struggles with it. Yeah, really struggles with it. It
always reminds me of that. There's a scene in the League of Gentlemen with Roy Chubby Brown where he plays the mayor, and he's been warned by his press team to not swear live on. He's been interviewed live on TV about like the nosebleed situation in the village, and this 2-minute interview, and he's just being very polite, and they go, "Thank you, Med," and then he goes, "You're fucking welcome." And then, it's such a great scene. That I was like, that's me. That's me when I'm interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, I've been practicing because we're trying to get a radio show off the ground as well, and I've been practicing like
I'm not
recording.
swearing.
Yeah, I've been practicing and recording stuff, and then I record it, and I record a section, you know, because I want to listen to it, see how it sounds. And I record a section, and then I swear halfway through it, and I'm like, "Fuck! I'm not supposed to be fucking swearing."
You have to spend
it's a nightmare.
The bleeping it all out, mate.
Yeah. Well, it's only so we can go out to more people, because with our podcast, because we just swear a lot, then it has to be over 18s, you know, and so we're missing out on a massive demographic by not punting it to 9-year-olds. But
there's certain words you can get away with, though. Is there like a watershed that we can say that can maybe it'd be like PG-13?
No, I don't think so.
Isn't there?
Nah, I
like
don't
the
think
swear words, they do it with like sex scenes and stuff, don't they? So you can like have a bit of over tit on a PG-13, but under tit is like a 15 or something. How does that work with swearing?
I don't fucking know, do I?
Well, that's definitely a.
I don't know. How the fuck am I supposed to know? Anyway, I'm going to read a story. Let me have a look. Where is this business? Brighouse, West Yorkshire. Do you know where that is, Jack? I was going to call you John then.
Brighouse,
yeah. West Yorkshire.
I think I played there about 5 years ago.
Okay. Well, there's a roadside cafe, which is probably like a fucking burger van, called Big Baps Cafe. Okay. And it's on the side of the road. It's a trucker's place where all these lorry drivers go there for their breakfast and stuff. But they've been getting problems with doggers, because a load of people have been going behind their breakfast cafe and using it as a dogging site. So, and I don't mean walking your dog either.
I would say it's just nice natural
Well,
place with nice like scenes and stuff. Or do they wear masks?
Apparently they've trashed the wooded area behind the food outlet. She calls it food outlet. It's just a fucking static caravan, where there is a mattress and other dirty remnants. So I'm assuming they mean condoms and stuff. So it's a bit of a far cry from condiments. But yeah.
Nasty.
So she's her business is going down the pan. Apparently.
Not good, is that?
So my daughter's 21, and she came over once and said, "Mum, I've just seen a dogger." And I said to her, "It could have been a fisherman." And she said, "Mum, he had his penis in his hand." So it definitely wouldn't have fit. Well, you wouldn't have a fucking fisherman in the woods anyway, would you?
Well, he's just using his pole.
So yeah, unfortunately, maybe it's the truckers. You know, maybe the truckers are attracting them.
There's a because
they are getting
I don't want to
propositioned.
get involved in this, yeah. But there's a dogging site on one of the roads. You might actually use that road actually when you come into Usk and stuff before you got to the Patriot. I'm not quite sure which way you'd be going. But the road that goes from Usk up to the M50 to the A40 or whatever it is, that road there, on the left-hand side, if you're going up, there's a dogging site there, apparently.
No.
Yeah, they're all
Well,
over
he's
the place.
not talking to me, John. He's Jack, sorry. He's talking to you.
Yeah, so...
Because I'm not going there near Wales anytime
You
soon.
wouldn't be able to catch it on your way down, but on your way home...
I mean, we're always open to sort of rerouting the tour, you know, and sort of taking sites. So I'll have to have a word with the guys tomorrow.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, it's a typical fucking place for doggers, isn't it? You call your fucking fast food burger bar Big Baps for a start. You know, you've got two women working on there. It's called Big Baps. So it is automatically going to attract the wrong crowd, isn't it? It's not just going to attract fucking lorry drivers, is it? You know. It's like, but it says here she subsequently had to endure homophobic comments, but has insisted the sexuality of the dog isn't the problem. It's just the dog in general. So.
Why has she had to deal with homophobic stuff?
I don't know.
Does she only serve hot dogs or something? Does she?
Maybe. Well, you know, she's got big baps on the wagon, so.
I don't know. Weird.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that, Jack?
Well, we didn't really touch on this sort of topic in the Those Damn Crows. So,
it's a surprise.
I'll admit I'm slightly thrown. I'm pretty good at giving comebacks as well, but I'm not quite sure what to say. I was just thinking about that Peter Kay series. What was it called? Car Share. There's a joke about dogging in that, isn't there? Where the lady he gives a lift to gets in and she's talking about like dogging, and she's completely mixed up. She's thinking she's talking about taking a dog for a walk, and then Peter Kay's. You should watch it. It's on YouTube. But Peter Kay's just like, "You are," very innocently. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, so I thought I'd throw that in. I thought it was quite a good story. So I always like to throw a story in and see how my guests react. But usually David throws some stuff back. But I mean, I haven't got
much on dogging really.
No,
to be honest, it's not something that I've experienced or sought out. If I'm honest, no. So
it's the sort of thing that Jack Johnson does, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a Jack Johnson thing. You'd be able to tell us about it next time.
You'd be throwing that non-alcoholic beer away in a minute to get a real one.
Yeah,
I think this is a real alcoholic beer the way we're going on.
I did watch a documentary on it a few years ago. It was, like on Channel 4 or Channel 5 or whatever, one of those like silly channels, and they were sort of like introducing you to doggers, and they were just, normal people, but they were wearing masks so they couldn't be identified. But they like workmates and different things, and it's like it was like a big scene. I think that might have been Leeds or something up that way.
Yeah, it's right in England.
Quite Halloween's quite tricky, isn't it? Because obviously there's more people wearing masks around Halloween, so
yeah,
get mistaken for partaking in the dogging.
I wonder how that would go.
What?
Funny, try your defence on it. Well, I assume she was there for the same thing as me.
Well, they have a thing over here called Carnival.
Yeah.
And it's at the beginning of Lent, so it's around the beginning of February time, or when fucking Lent starts. Is it Lent? 40-day fasting? Is that Lent?
I don't fucking know.
I think so, yeah. But so over here in the southern, because I'm in Holland, I don't know if you know, I'm in Holland, Jack, but so in the south of Holland and Limburg areas, they have this thing called Carnival, and then everybody gets dressed up for 4 or 5 days. They go mad. I mean, it's all to do with the Bible, I think, but the majority of the fuckers are Catholics. But it's all to do with like stuffing your face full of food and drink. What's it called? I'm sure it's called Lent.
I don't know. The only one I could think of is a Muslim, which is Ramadan, isn't it, where they starve?
Yeah, but they'd starve themselves for fucking ever.
Well, you just said they're not eating.
No, they're supposed to stuff themselves full of food and drink for 4 or 5 days before they start the fast.
Right.
So they have Carnival, so everybody gets dressed up in these carnival costumes, and then they all go out and party, and they're all getting pissed and whatever, and then it leads to all these unwanted pregnancies and divorces. I mean, going back a few years, it was like the highest statistics for divorce rates and everything was all to do with Carnival, So yeah, so it's sort of like dogging, but not really dogging, I suppose. They all just go and fuck each other. They all get pissed up and in their carnival outfits, So
like that film with Tom Cruise. They do all that, don't they, on that? And they go to like the big posh house, and they're all got masks on, so they don't know who they are and what have you. And it turns out they're all his buddies, aren't they?
I don't know.
Yeah, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I was going to say Interview with a Vampire, but
no. Oh, what's it called? It's the one with Nicole Kidman in it.
Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, Yeah, he's a doctor, and he goes out and he ends up being. He meets up with his mate from years ago, who's a pianist, and he says, "Oh, you want to come along to this shindig? You need to get a mask and a robe." The minute somebody says you need a mask and a robe, you need to run, don't you? Do you know what I mean? It's not going to end well, is it?
Eyes Wide Shut, I think.
That's it. That's weird and messed up, that is. But that's sort of like semi-dogging.
I remember my dad rented that film when we were kids, and we watched it on a Saturday night, and he put it on. We all sat around with it, and I think it went off pretty sharpish because
not good, is it?
like a big orgy scene. I think my mum was like, Roger, I think we need to find something else. Let's do Goonies instead.
Yeah, I've been in love with stuff like that.
Oh, anything interesting you watch on the TV, Jack?
Anything interesting I watch? I don't know, man.
Are you a big movie fan, or?
Yeah, I this is kind of my favourite period of the year because there's loads of horror movies on TV, and I can sort of get into watching all the sort of Hammer horror, Amicus stuff. And I've actually been going through all the Nightmare on Elm Streets this week, so that's what I've been doing this week. And then I watched the new one. There's a remake about 10 years ago, and I was like, nah, without Robert Englund, it's not really the same thing. So yeah, I do like watching a good horror movie. And I do, when we sort of crash out after gigs, I tend to, I'll stick on something like Friday the 13th, when I'm getting into a hotel room, because it takes me ages to wind down after gigs. So putting on an absolutely bonkers horror movie takes me out of reality into that world. So yeah, but I like watching a lot of football and that kind of stuff, which causes tension between me and my PR guy Wes, who's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, I saw that. He's
Man United fan.
Yeah.
So you can't have everything with people, can you? But he is indeed a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, David's a Man United fan.
Yeah, no one will admit to it at the moment. My mate posted on Facebook after we got battered by Leicester. He said, "I've looked at the next 8 games and we're going to lose 7 out of 8 of them." I was like, "Oh shit!" Because you got
you know what,
Liverpool, City, Chelsea.
My brother was at that Leicester game on Saturday. Yeah. And my brother Sammy's a United fan, and one of his friends had a spare ticket, and it was at Leicester. And Sam lives in Loughborough, so Sam went to watch the game, and I was like, "Are you going to wear your United top?" And he was, because he was sat in the Leicester end.
Oh God!
He was like, "No." So he wrapped up and everything. So I was sending him messages on WhatsApp that was like, "I've got a new screen set, like a wallpaper for you." And it was just like a big picture of Harry Maguire like that. And he obviously opened his phone. He was like, "Stop sending me these messages." And then when Greenwood scored, I think Sam, he just had to be like, "Oh, for God's sake." But inside he was like, "Yeah." And then when they won at the end, he had to kind of celebrate with everybody and be like, "Hurrah, Leicester won."
Yeah. I watched it, and I never thought for 1 minute United were going to win that game. I don't know. I think. What do you think? Ollie in or Ollie out? And that's not a dogging question.
I think it's. It's getting like when you see Zidane being linked with Newcastle this afternoon, you think, and Conte as well with Newcastle. It's like, I think we kind of need somebody with the squad the United have got now. Like, we should really be challenging, and I'm not quite sure Ole's up to it.
I don't think he is now. I was sort of like pro Ollie for a bit, and then you just watch some of the strategy he's got, and some of the sort of like the player choices that he makes sometimes, and then some players he leaves on the bench. It's like when we go to play a game that we'd be confident of winning. Do you know what I mean? He'll put on a weakened team, wait for us to go a goal down, and he brings on all the stars, and they're running around like fuck for 30 minutes. You'd be better off bringing them on, letting them stroke the ball around, going 1 or 2 up, and then bring all the knobheads on. I just don't. It's like chasing the game all the time. His strategy is just not right for me. I just don't get it.
Maybe he took a few tips of Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, he might have, yeah.
He did that for fucking 10 years.
I don't know how you are, Dave, with this sort of stuff, but when Man United lose, I'm like distraught for 2 or 3 days. It affects my mood. And so I remember the first tour I did with Laz and Felipe, we were in Spain, and it was we just beaten City. If City had beaten us at Old Trafford, they would have won the league. It was 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. We beat them, and then when we played West Brom the following week, and we lost against West Brom.
Yeah,
Came out. We were in this gorgeous sort of villa in Spain. Went downstairs to kind of then head to the venue, and the guys were like, "What's the matter?" And I was like, "Oh, Man United fucking lost against West Brom," and I was just ranting about this. And the guys were like, "Are you going to be all right to do the gig, Jack?" And I was like, "I will, of course, you know." Stop. And then about like 2 days later, Laz was like, "Are you still annoyed about that United?" Like, "Mate, of course I'm annoyed. I'm going to like 3 or 4 days." And Felipe, who'd been playing with me for a little while, then he was like, "This is going to go on for quite a few days, Laz. This is what Jack's like." So, yeah. But, yeah.
I'm like that with a rugby. Well, fucking Wales lose.
Yeah, whereas my missus, she's lovely. She's just like, oh, they played so well and they've done really well, and we like been battered 80 points to 3 against South Africa or somebody. Oh, but they had a go, didn't they?
No.
You watch.
Fucking useless.
She's just like, she's all good with it and everything's cool, and she just don't get it. It's like, if she, like, Man United will go like 2-0 down or something, and she'll laugh because I'm normally watching it on my phone and she's watching the telly, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And she just like doesn't understand why I'm so angry and agitated and trying to bite my phone in half and things. She just don't get it.
Yeah.
Don't get it. Don't get it.
I don't get it either. Fucking football shit.
I was the same with the Formula One, mine. If Lewis Hamilton ain't winning, I'm fucking screaming and shouting and hollering.
So what do you reckon on the new Halloween movie coming out? Have you seen any trailers for that?
Yeah, I went to see it the other day.
Oh, did you? Any good?
It's good, yeah. It's not as good as the first reboot one, but it's a bit of a mess, actually. But, it does the job. Soundtrack's good, which is all important.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really got into the Halloween movies, to be honest.
There's about 13 of them now, so...
Oh,
yeah.
This one, is there?
Yeah. I was more a Friday the 13th guy.
Yeah, I was more Freddy Krueger, I gotta be honest.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I love Freddy Krueger. Like you said, the new one, do you know what? With the new one, I think they made him too seedy. I know he was like a child killer and stuff, but on the new one, he was even seedier, wasn't he? And I didn't like that. I thought it was I didn't like it. Whereas like,
well, he was a fucking maniac killer.
Yeah, but Krueger was like a maniac killer. But on the new one, he's like a paedophile maniac killer, and I didn't like that so much. Like, fucking kill him, yeah, do you know what I mean? But they just took it too far. Didn't like it.
What do you reckon, Jack?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I think it needed the sort of humour.
I think all horror films need a bit of humour, to be honest.
Yeah, because ultimately you're watching somebody getting murdered, and that should really be funny.
I mean, if it's serious, then you might as well watch a snuff movie, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, are they still about them things? Huh?
I like Saw movies. There's not much humour in them, really.
I don't know. It's a bit dark. It's dark humour, isn't it?
Yeah, I find them really funny though. I gotta be honest.
I like the Saw movies as well, to be honest. They got a new one of them coming out, haven't they?
Yeah, Spiral. It was good. I watched it. It's very good.
Oh, it's come out already? Because they usually release them on Halloween, don't they?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I don't know if there's another one in the works, but I watched Spiral. It's got what was that lad who was in? He's a comedian. He is. Fuck.
No idea.
I can't think of his name. Skinny black guy who was in.
Chris Rock.
Yes. Yeah, it was. But he's playing a real serious part. He does a good job in it, actually. Okay. Considering he's like I reckon he's an amazing comedy actor. But he was really good in that Spiral. I quite enjoyed it.
Okay, I'll have to look out for that.
Yeah, it was a good watch. It's out on DVD.
All right then, mate. We're going to let you get off because we're just talking bollocks, really.
I'm going to go to the United game in a minute.
Well, you can bring me back in an hour. We'll both be fucking stamping.
I'll be ringing you back in about an hour, just tearing my hat up.
Fucking Ollie's playing Fred again. Twat, what's he doing all
He got Fred in goal.
All right, good luck with your tour, Jack.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much, guys, for having me on. It's been really good to chat to you, and it's gonna be. I'll go and speak to Liz, my partner, in a minute, and she'll be like, "What do you talk about?" I'll be like, "Dogging." Typical interview, you know.
Dogging and horror movies.
That's right. Yeah.
What?
Hopefully, I'll be able to catch you at the show at the Winter's End Fest. I'm definitely going to try and get there this year. But where is it, man? Where is it next year?
It's actually really close to where my bass player lives in Leamington Spa. So he loves his kind of home comfort. So he was like, "This is fucking great. I can just get there in about 10 minutes and then get home." He really likes watching like the MMA and stuff like that. So he's always like, he basically tries to fit his whole schedule around when he can watch MMA. But you'll find me and Felipe at the bar until 2 a.m. or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It sounds like it should be in Scotland.
They normally are. They used to be. There was one that used to be in North Wales, wasn't it? There was. I think it's been in Great Yarmouth. Was that Winter's End as well? I think there's been some in Great Yarmouth up in Scotland.
There's Treco Bay, wasn't there? The Rockstocks at Trek. Is it Treco Bay?
Rockstock, yeah. Yeah. So I
remembered where I drove to 2 years ago. So, yeah.
Fucking yeah. Okay. All right then, mate. We'll let you go.
All right, lads. Have a nice evening.
Nice to talk to you. Good luck with your tour. Good luck with the album.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
And hope we talk to you again.
All right, man.
See you.
Cool. All right. Ta-ra.